Hello, welcome to Neighborhood News Studio. George Webb investigates live from Holland, Michigan today. George Webb. Hey, George.
Yeah. Hey, Aaron. How you doing? Thank you.
Got right as the waiter came. Sorry. Hey.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It just got a little windy here. But I was just over at the JD Vance thing. I'm less than a quarter mile away, but the wind here on the lake is just it's not being inside. It's let's just go to my Twitter clip, and it's a lot more interesting just outside than inside, and that'll be explained all here in this little clip.
All right, we'll play. This is about a 5-minute clip here, and then we'll come back to you live after you've placed your lunch order there. So here we go.
Hello, everyone. George Webb here in Grand Rapids at the JD Vance event, and you knew it was going to come down. Here's all kinds of gendarmerie coming in. You knew it was going to come down. You knew it was going to come down here with the canines coming in. Now you can hear the canines going in. You knew it was going to come down to our good friends here in Grand Rapids, our good friends in Holland, Michigan, somewhere in between. If you remember, we have been talking about all the different possible deep state moves that would happen late in the election. Deep state moves, they're called October surprises. We said assassination, maybe one of them. We had maybe 3 assassination attempts. We had maybe 4 assassination attempts. Then we talked about rendering, and we talked about the various places where Paul Whelan and others had brought people in for a potential rendering where Trump had been. Now it looks like we're turning back the clock all the way to 2016 with all the same players for Russia, Russia, Russia. Yeah, you guessed it, Russia, Russia, Russia. Now there's a lot of players that people have forgotten from 8 years ago, but they're still there in the campaign. We'll go over them in a live stream. There are names like Boris Epshteyn, who was in there in 2016. I knew him from 2017. He got into the Trump campaign. He's in there today, right? There's other people like Paul Manafort. Hey, there you go. With the Trump thing right there. These are anti-protesters. That was an Antifa guy. So he was going to try to say Trump bad guy. So the Antifa guy there. So Boris Epshteyn is the inside guy we find today. You may remember Eric Prince up in Grand Rapids. His father had the Holland Equipment Corporation, the Holland machinery that they made weapons for covert actions in Kosovo and Bosnia, going all the way back to, after World War II, all the way to Iran-Contra. This meeting here today is at Holland Equipment Corporation, believe it or not. You may remember Eric Prince and his sister, Nancy DeVos, trying to put spies into the Trump campaign. They're going to make a move. They're going to have to make a move quickly if they're going to have an October surprise. And that's why we believe it's going to be all the same people from 2016. Paul Manafort was one of those characters. If you remember, Mike Pompeo is one of those characters. If you remember a guy named Friedman, a Russian millionaire named Friedman, the biscuit boy, you may remember him. We'll put it all together for you. We'll put the various constructs, the various companies in Kiev. We'll put together the various machinations. But the bottom line is we believe that Hillary Clinton last night in Detroit, Warren Flood last night in Detroit, sorry about the wind, last night in Detroit, we believe Gretchen Whitmer and also Kamala Harris a few miles down the road here in Kalamazoo. We believe there was a meeting in Grand Rapids last night. We believe that there's going to be something of a Zimmerman letter, something of a Dreyfus letter. These are letters that have been produced in past history to say that someone's disloyal, that there's a conspiracy of disloyalty. They're selling out America to overseas Russian interests. And we believe that there will be some sort of Zimmerman letter or some sort of Dreyfus letter introduced to show Trump is making deals with the Russians, with Russian influence. We believe it's going to be Boris Epshteyn. We believe it's going to be Friedman. Here's more black SUVs coming this way. I don't know if JD Vance is coming down from Saginaw or not, but we expect him to come behind us here. He may give us a wave. But we believe that the letter will be promises of postings. We'll be posting promises, will be job promises, will be cabinet position type promises, and underling cabinet positions. The president appoints about 10,000 people. We believe that there's a cabinet list, a fake cabinet list, a constructed cabinet list. This is like the Project 2025, nothing to do with Trump, but Boris Epstein's concoction, Mike Pompeo's concoction, CIA concoction, Eric Prince concoction, right? That's going to be pawned off and presented like it was Trump's list, like it was Trump's payoff list. It's not, doesn't have any relation to reality, doesn't have any relationship to truth, but that doesn't stop the deep state from presenting it like a Zimmerman letter or like a letter, a Dreyfus type letter that was in the French government. So that's what we're looking for here with JD Vance. It's always fun to play counterintelligence to try to stop these things. You have no idea what they're going to do. You have to go back to their modus operandi, how they did it in 2016, and there just isn't enough time. With a week to go in the election, there's not enough time to develop new players. They have to go to the old players. They have to go to the old plays.
There you have it.
Yes.
Old players. You just an extra minute there. We can.
No.
Go,
This is how it is when you're on the road as a reporter. You get 2 minutes to eat. You move on to the next story. But it is fun being out there in the neighborhood news board. It's great seeing you, Mark. We talked late into the night last night. We just seem to be around each other all the time now.
Yes.
So here, just so folks know, George is there as a media correspondent there with the rally with JD Vance. So that's exciting. We've been humping and bumping across Michigan, just seeing all the events and all the folks. But yeah, tell us more about the Eric Prince connection. That's, I think, what everybody wants to hear more about today.
Well, this is the famous Eric Prince Cafe, both for Eric Prince and his father, I believe. This is where all the deals were made. This is where Iran Contra weapons. This is where Kosovo weapons. This is where they did the deals, or the yacht club down on South Shore a little bit further. Also the deals for, if you want to go all the way back to Guatemala in '54, to be honest with you, I think Eric Prince's father made the weapons for that. So we wanted to go, thank you so much. We wanted to go to the cafe, to the, maybe not this one all the way back then, but down the way to the South Shore Yacht Club. This is where all the covert weapons deals were made. Of course, Gerald Ford from up in Grand Rapids. You have to get the weapons. They have to be off book. It has to be CIA. You can't have an open bidding process. It's got to be no bid contracts. You get 10 times the profit margin for the weapons that are made. And this, of course, leads into the charmed life of Eric Prince, who becomes the charmed no-bid recipient of 20 years of Iraq contracts, 20 years of Afghanistan contracts. We know he sticks his nose in 2016 with all the machinations putting CIA guys into the Trump campaign, putting the Russian girls into the Trump campaign, if you remember that. Then 2020, he gets involved again with Blackwater Health. That's again in Grand Rapids. That's again Spectrum Health. That's again his sister. That's again Nancy DeVos. You may remember the machinations in 2016 was also Nancy DeVos. It went as far as penetrating into the cabinet with Nancy DeVos being the Secretary of Education. So, yeah, there he is in Holland.
Betsy or Nancy? Betsy, right?
Betsy DeVos. I hope I didn't say Nancy, but anyway.
Wait, it's okay.
I like going to the cafes of the deep state intrigue where all the deals are really done, rather than sitting around talking about farm equipment and pretending that this is all about farm equipment. This is not about farm equipment. This is for all the marbles for the deep state, right? And there's only a week to go. This isn't about farm equipment. This is about all the marbles of the deep state.
Here is everyone at the farm equipment location. HES Farm Equipment, I believe, or machinery.
HES, which is Holland Equipment Services, but this, again,
great folks over there. We love them.
Oh, we love them. Oh, no. I went through all the farms. I drove through all the farms. I love the farmers. I'm just saying that the October surprise isn't going to be a combine. It isn't going to be a John Deere. It's not going to be a Caterpillar. It's not going to be a Kubota. It's not going to be a Tech Mahindra. It's going to be a deep state play. And we can get more into what I think the deep state play is going to be. But it's good to see that JD is here.
The Scoops. Remember Soylent Green, the Scoops?
That's right, Mark. They scoop you up at the end. And then what does Charlton Heston say from the scoop? I remember seeing, it was one of my earliest movies I saw that was R-rated. It's people. It's people. It's people. You will never forget when Charlton, and then fast forward when Charlton Heston is walking with that trick knee and the trick hamstring, and he's trying to get away from a young portly filmmaker who's trying to say that he is responsible for the shootings at Columbine, right? He's trying to say that the aging Charlton Heston who's walking with that trick knee trying to get away from Michael Moore, he's trying to say that you're responsible. You're the one responsible for the shootings. It's not all the MK Ultra programs. It's not the training sessions that are paid for by DHS. It's none of that. It's Charlton Heston. It's you, because you raised the gun at the NRA and said, "From my cold, dead hands."
Fascinating stuff. So another individual you mentioned there that I don't know much about is Boris Epstein, or
Boris.
Epshteyn. So not Epstein like Jeffrey Epstein, but
No, but we
what's the
said
story with Boris here. Yeah, I don't know much
Yep.
about.
We said he's from the Brooklyn CIA kids. We said he was going to be an insert in the campaign. We said Trump was going to regret the day that they put him in the camp. We said that he would create this Dreyfus letter, or this Zimmerman type letter, this letter that proves right at the end that there's disloyalty, and also could create a predicate for after the election. If Trump sweeps the swing states, it's over. Then creates a predicate to say, no, that's a nullification. That's Russia interference, Russia. And it's looking like the last chance to render Trump, the last chance to abduct Trump, the last chance to kidnap Trump passed in Novi, Michigan. And now they're on to this Victoria Nuland, Gretchen Whitmer. Of course, she had the kidnapping hoax. Kamala here last night in Kalamazoo, a few minutes down the street. All of these people, Mr. Live Exercise, Mike Pompeo, right? They're all here. They're all here. That's why I say the intrigue is not inside. Even though I love farm equipment, please, you go, do business with your local farm equipment dealer. But the intrigue is not inside. It's a mile outside here on Lake Michigan.
Boris Epstein is a frequent contributor on Bannon's War Room.
Yep.
So so in his own words, you can find Boris there.
And you told me last night, Mark, that Bannon's out of jail today.
Yes, and he did a show at 10 o'clock this morning from New York.
Right. And so this is the perfect time to run a deep state play right here, right now, is especially from the right. When they run these plays from the right, they don't see them coming. Trump somehow has a blind side when they come from the right. From the left, he can see the Gretchen Whitmer. He can see the Kamala Harris. He can see the Hillary Clinton, but he doesn't seem to have the blind side covered when dealing with people, CIA folks on the right-hand side. And that's why we're here. And we kind of finished up with neighborhood health and the charrette yesterday there in Lambertville. And I wanted to get out here as quick as I can to get in front of this, because I think this has all the makings of an October surprise.
And you're going to make another stop after Holland, after the event, once JD is back on his way. A lot of topics have been coming up in the research lately about Muskegon, Michigan. And you're going to head 30 miles north to Muskegon here after the event and do some reporting there. Can you give us a little preview of what we might be able to?
Well,
from Muskegon, yeah.
Who does Eric Prince, his dad, sell his business to? He sells it to Johnson Controls, JD Johnson Controls. Remember Shuang Wu with the York air conditioning systems? 85% of U.S. hospitals with all the air filters and all the AI patents she had. That's interesting. A biologist having patents in air conditioning systems. That would help you propagate a pandemic, wouldn't it? A live exercise? Sure, it would. Yeah, so Eric Prince sells his business, his auto parts auto parts business to Johnson Controls. Johnson Controls just sold their frontage property at Port of Muskegon to L3 Harris. How do we know L3 Harris? How do we know L3 Harris? Oh, yeah, that's right. Richard Armitage, the deputy dirty tricks man for Kissinger. Deputy Dirty Tricks man for Kissinger. Deputy Dirty Tricks for Kissinger. So you always follow Kissinger and the Dirty Tricks people when you're trying to anticipate dirty tricks, right? And that's Richard Armitage, right? And that's L3 Harris. And L3 Harris is getting in on the action, getting in. Here they are. What can you see them getting in? They're getting in on the action of the electrical vehicle action. And if you didn't see it, the Department of Energy very stealthily came out with a what's the Department of Energy Q level clearance? Anyone? Yeah, Bueller. Q level clearances for 25 electric vehicle battery plants. We're on the Muskegon River, Aaron, not just because we love the Muskegon River late in the fall, but because not one but two electric vehicle plants are being built there. One has been given out. There they are. One has been given out to L3 Harris at the Port of Muskegon on the Muskegon River, primarily because these things have had industrial applications and factories on them before. And then the other one to get EPA clearance. And then the other one is further up on the Muskegon. You know your rivers, you know your watersheds, Aaron. So does Mark. You know it's up at the Green Township. Up further on the Muskegon River for Goshen. Do the local Goshen with me, right? There they are. There's the new autonomous ground vehicle. It's the tank.
Because the tanks have been getting decimated by the drones in Ukraine. We all know the
Yes.
Ukraine war is just, Department of Defense testing field for, all the latest and greatest, newest military technology. So this is
No signature. No
yeah,
signature. No signature with these smaller electrical vehicle drones and the batteries they're making, the Sportster type batteries they're making. They're going to make them there in. We want to see that, of course. We want to see the EV batteries, but industry of the future. We want to see the industries of the future, but we want to also follow the deep state characters. And this is, of course, L3 Harris, and can't remember what the final Mira subsidiary is. It's Mira Red or something along that line that's getting the contract there. But further up the Muskegon River, a little bit further north toward Traverse City, is our good friends local Goshen. Goshen is Gotion is the Chinese battery company that's going to be making VW batteries. But 25, Aaron, you don't let out, right? You don't let out 25 factories a week before the election unless you're trying to give out those franchises before the election. You wouldn't be doing that if you thought you were going to win. You're selling these franchises off like so many, well, I hate to say it, like so many children at a slave auction. You're selling these things off as quickly as you can, quickly, right, to generate quick cash, so that you can do a last minute blitz, right? You're just trying to do a last minute blitz, right? To generate cash. 25 of these Goshen, there they are, to supplies VW batteries, but these 25 factories, these are $3 billion a pop, right, for these EV battery event, and 25 of them get let out on Friday. You wouldn't do that unless you were trying to generate cash. You're trying to generate quick cash.
The thing I'd comment that with all of this electrical is you would thought you would saw General Electric here, and it's gone, but like L3 Harris, why isn't that General Electric?
Yeah, because they sold and lock, stock, and barrel. They exfiltrated General Electric with Jeff Immelt. Before that, Jack Welch, and we had people that we knew that worked directly for Jeff Immelt at the executive staff level. You may remember Not Your Turn to Burn, who we worked with as a researcher. She worked directly for Jeff Immelt. And why did I start following Bernie Sanders? Because Bernie Sanders said there's 5 words that Jeff Immelt said that are important for General Electric. 5 words: China, 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 China. China, meaning let's lock, stock, and barrel, sell this thing off and move it to China. All the technology. And then when we have a return to America wave, we'll take all that key technology that's been uh, exfiltrated from GM, and then we'll become the new, we'll be as defense contractors, as Q level clearance people, we'll put it into some kind of a vehicle, an autonomous vehicle, and that will give us the inside track, the technology track, the DARPA track, and we can pawn it off to all of our friends, all of our insiders, all of our crony capitalists, all of our Peter Thiels, and I dare I say, Elon Musk is in that crew.
Okay.
Well, and speaking of Elon, this is all, whose side is everybody on anymore? It's all just confused because you thought the EV, the electric vehicle stuff was Elon's wheelhouse. And that was all, the Democrats were into that and they were, given subsidies for that. And the electric vehicle thing was big for the left and Elon was their champion. But now that he's dark MAGA or whatever, I'm seeing negative ads from Kamala Harris's campaign, just seeing, like Elon Musk and his millions, I'm not a millionaire like Elon, Donald Trump's going to do this and that for millionaires like Elon. So Elon has definitely become their punching bag, public enemy number 2, you might say, is Elon now. But
but what did Elon ever do? Right. I mean, Elon went out and did space. He went out and did EVs with Tesla. He went out and did humanoid robots. I don't say I agree with him. Went out and did Neuralink. He actually went out into the world, into the real world, left this, basement. All Kamala Harris ever did, really, if you really think about it, is bust a lot of low-level couriers, a bunch of unfortunate black kids that were starving to death in Oakland, right? And while her boyfriend, Willie Brown, was running the key drug operation in San Francisco. Willie Brown and his law firm was running the drug operation in San Francisco, and she was busting the low-level couriers that got enmeshed in that. That's all she's ever done. That's the only free enterprise that she's ever done, right? So of course she's middle class, right? Of course she wants to deny her Willie Brown background and his background with the drug trade in San Francisco. Of course she does. She wants to say that doesn't exist. And have a lot of people that I know that were very close to Kamala Harris that are dead. The great Japanese reporter is talking about a prosecutor and a public defender that went up against Kamala Harris and was the person who was the tutor of Kamala Harris that ended up dead. I can't remember his name. It's Jeff Daegu or something like that. But I can't remember the Japanese reporter's name. But Kansas Owens has a report on it. My point is, of course, she's middle class. She wants to hide as middle class. She doesn't want to say that, hey, I was the arm candy for a drug lord in San Francisco. That doesn't play well here in the last week of the election.
Well, and as we discuss the week ahead or the next few days ahead in the last week and the final stretch here, we've got a bunch of exciting locations and dates on the calendar, but probably the most exciting one will be Turning Point USA. This upcoming Friday, Turning Point USA will be there at Michigan State University on Friday, and we'll be there with them. Not with them, but
I just went through Lansing.
We're still waiting for a press pass from Turning Point, so we may actually be able to get a press pass from them as well. But either way, we will be there. We'll be in East Lansing this weekend for the Brainwash Tour.
Remember, we wanted a table. Remember, we wanted a table to talk to the students, right? Talk to them about deep state and not about other wedge issues and social issues. We want to talk to them about deep state. Do you know who Eric Prince is? Do you know who, Mike Flynn is? Do you know who General McInerney is? Do you know who Stanley McChrystal is? Do you know who David Petraeus is? Do you know who Mattis is? Do you know who General Kelly is? Do you know who all these deep state players are? That's what I want to talk to the kids about. Of course, they want to talk about wedge issues that divide people around social issues that are being divided at the state, that's decided at the state level, which have nothing to do with national politics. I want to talk to people about national security and national politics. And remember, we wanted the table. Remember, we asked for the table, Aaron. We asked for the table in Lansing. I just went through Lansing, and remember, we asked for the table.
Absolutely. So, I think Vivek will be there. Vivek has kind of been like on the Turning Point tour. They went to Oakland University a few days ago in the Metro Detroit area. But
Yeah.
you ever met Charlie Kirk? Have you ever had any interactions with Charlie Kirk?
Charlie Kirk's used my video. He used my video
Oh,
at Greg Phillips in Houston because I was the only person covering the Greg Phillips trial. It's amazing how much you learn when you actually go to the trials. And you become, it's sort of like, Steve Jobs used to say, and this is a Elon Musk quote, is there are people that are crazy enough to think that they can invent the future. And those are the people who usually do, right? The people who end up getting the inside scoops at all these various trials and so forth are actually the people many times that actually just go, right? If you show up and listen to the attorneys go back and forth, a lot of times you're the guy with the scoop, right? If you hang around Washington, this is what Cy Hirsch told me. He says, hang around Washington, hang around the Capitol. You're going to learn a lot of stuff you wouldn't learn in Portland, Oregon. And sure enough, live exercise is coming. Live exercise. What's a live exercise? What's Fort Belvoir? Oh, here we go. Maybe we should listen to a few minutes of JD. It's right by the airport, by the way. He only had to come a minute across the highway there to go right from the airport. He's doing all these airport whistle stops. Here we go.
And he was in Saginaw earlier today, which you couldn't do both. Those are in opposite directions, in the
I got up most of the way to Saginaw, but I had to take a left turn at Lansing because I had to get down here because
right.
I wanted to cover this EV battery story. I think this is a big story.
Here, let's see what JD's got to say here.
He's actually got, in a lot of ways, the hardest job in American politics. He's got to go around the country and try to pretend that Kamala Harris is fit to serve as president of these United States. And you think about it, what Governor Tim Walz has to do, and we should, I know we've got a lot of church-going folks in this room, and we love you. We're thrilled to have you. We ought to spare a prayer for Governor Tim Walz, because think about it. This guy's got to go around and pretend that Kamala Harris isn't the cause of the inflation and the affordability crisis affecting American families. He's got to go around and pretend that even though Kamala Harris said she was going to open the border, he's got to pretend that she somehow cares about border security. And he's got to pretend that the vice president who presided over the most chaotic situation in the world is somehow going to be a president of peace and prosperity. He's also got to pretend that Kamala Harris actually has ideas for how to govern the United States of America. I've actually got, in a lot of ways, I've got the easiest job in American politics, because all that I have to do is remind people that Donald J. Trump was the president of peace and the president of prosperity. I get to remind people that when Donald J. Trump was president, inflation was at 1.5%. That's pretty good. I get to remind people that when Donald Trump was president, we had the fastest rising take-home pay in a generation in the United States of America. And I get to remind the American people that when Donald J. Trump was president, the border was secure and our country was safe.
We say we'll leave it right there, George. We'll let you get back over there for the end and get yourself up to Muskegon and on to all the other stops for your own whistle stop researchers tour, the researchers whistle stop tour, coinciding with the JD Vance vice presidential tour. It seems like Trump and JD are kind of taking turns hitting Michigan. Trump did Michigan last week. JD's doing it here early this week, no doubt.
Eric Trump last night.
Yeah, Eric Trump and Wyandotte.
Eric Trump last night.
So
everything is on pause until the final week. But remember, you got Elon paying I did a Substack out there, George Webb, Substack.com. Elon's paying $100 for every registered person, $1 million every night in the giveaway. Beatlemania, crazy Beatlemania going on right now with Elon Musk in Pennsylvania. So that last week, now Mark went to early voting. I went to early voting with Mark and you. It started on Saturday in Michigan. Now Michigan, there's about a 10 point swing here from the previous election. And if you remember, one of the early jewels that Biden picked up last time in the election was Pennsylvania. It was one of the early ones that went to the blue side, and that's huge. Oh, by the way, they're making me white. You see how red I am, right? They're turning my skin color into like a ghost-like white. They're trying to make me white, Aaron. They're trying to take a Cherokee kid, right, from Alabama, the reservation, and trying to turn me in, even though half of me is born in the city in Cleveland. But they're trying to take the Cherokee out of me. Look at me. Look at how blanched I look in this thing. You've seen me up close. You see me as redder than a Cherokee, right? Full-blooded Cherokee. And so why are they trying to make me this white? I'm very concerned. I'm cut off from my spaces, cut off from direct uploading, and now they're trying to make me into a white man.
Yep. Well, here I'll display a few comments here real fast. We got the great Dave
Sure.
Underdown. Paul Erickson's performance with Maria Butina in Beauty and the Beast was amazing. Then he says, Aaron, remember Frontier Services Group from Belton Road? Yep, we covered Eric Prince way back a few years ago with the Belton Road show we were doing with his Frontier Services mercenaries group, you might say.
Services.
I don't know that he would call it mercenaries group, but we sure did. Hello, JE from the north. Yep. We got George Webb live from Holland. Doesn't mean live from the Netherlands, unfortunately, but no doubt, after the election, we'll have to get you back to
I
the
met her
Netherlands.
there twice, though. I met her there twice in Rotterdam. So.
Yep. And President of Peace. Let's see, President of Peace out the mouth of Palantir. Certainly
That's a comment about Elon Musk and of course Peter Thiel were partners. After a while at PayPal. Well, PayPal and eBay and X all kind of went together. So
yeah, the goth look, the pale look is goth, right? They have the pale skin, and then
I think they've definitely made me into some kind of goth, dark MAGA guy that I'm not. I'm clearly. I mean, I want to represent my peeps at the res, but anyway. This crazy election season, all kinds of things are happening on X. We hope that we get our stuff restored, but until then, we're going to be broadcasting here on Neighborhood News. So this is awesome that you're here. But I call it crossover cash. 10%. 10%. It's 10% less for the Democratic turnout in early voting in Pennsylvania, and 10% more for the Republicans. And this is mirrored in the other swing states, more like 5 to 6%, but 10% in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia because of this Elon program to give away this $1 million. These things are turning into, I don't know whether they're telling the kids in there, if you yell more, you have a better chance of winning the $1 million, but there is Beatlemania. And this is the thing is, before election interference, the only thing we could do is say, do you want your picture taken with a Russian sniper girl? If you remember, Patrick Byrne isn't giving any of his $300 million out to try to increase voter registration. He just wants people to take their picture with a Russian sniper girl. And here's the face, Victoria Nuland.
I was going a little fast on the graphics. Sorry. Folks can, of course, subscribe to George at substack.com. $8 a month helps him do all the things he's doing. Stay
or
on
free, or you can look at it free. But here's Victoria Nuland coming out of the woodwork. That tells you Russia. That's the metadata that says they're going to come out with Russia. They've already leaked something of a Zimmerman letter, right, from Boris Epstein already, right? And all they can, now that they've introduced it for the Judge Cannon, he was saying that he promised Judge Cannon a position. Joe Rogan led him into appointments, very sneakily led Trump into the talk about appointments, right? That's a setup, right, for now the Zimmerman letter or a Dreyfus letter to be dropped to say, oh, here is election interference. And remember, they also had set the table here with $400,000 a month to Benny Johnson, $400 a month to Tim Pool on the Poopcast. The Poopcast got $400,000 a month. They both got $2.5 million bipartisan. Victoria Nuland. Yeah, that's funny. So when you see these deep state players lining up and saying Russia with 1 week to go, that's your cue that it's going to be Russia. That's your cue that they're not joking, that they are going to do what they say they're going to do. And that's when you have to start taking them seriously. That's when you have to start looking. She was on.
She was cute when she went trolling on Oleg Deripaska's tuna yacht.
Shows you
Yeah,
what lying
Victoria.
and cheating. It shows you what lying and cheating and underhanded dealing will do to a person. It's not good for your visage. It's not good for your countenance. If you go on this, Victoria, the best thing you can do is start watching neighborhood news. Start watching neighborhood news and just binge watching, and you'll see yourself as
You
all.
can even come here, Victoria. Come
Yeah.
here, Summerfield and Secor. We could do a multi-hour long interview. You can just,
It'll be like Benjamina Button. It'll be like Benjamina Button. She'll be looking like the hottie she was on Oleg Deripaska's yacht in no time. Just start binge watching neighborhood news.
Absolutely. We got one last question here. Do you think with the early voting, they are just gauging how many ballots to drop for the other side late at night during the election? I have heard concerns about that, and it is a scary thought. But I mean, Trump has been saying, go early vote. It's definitely Trump's impetus, which has motivated a lot of people to early vote. So that you never know, I guess. But concern.
Yeah, that's for sure. And last time we had the coronavirus, so it was a lot more early voting. So, the way I look at it is a vote that's placed can't be stolen. So if you get all of the people of color, such as myself, remember 256 times more Cherokee than Elizabeth Warren. And again, the real test, don't go by the paleology where they're trying to make me out to be super white on Twitter. Look at that. Look at the skin color and then decide between Kamala and myself who has more color, who's more of a person of color. That's what they're trying. Is if you can get those people out to the polls, you can't vote for them, right? You cannot take their vote and redistribute it to the other side. So it really limits you. Remember when Hillary in 2016 got to 107% of the vote in Detroit? Everybody said, Hillary, we're at 107%. We can't do any more. People can't vote twice. That's the position you want to be in. It's going to be TCF Center. You know it's going to be TCF Center again, the old Cobo Arena. You know that Mark Elias from Perkins Coie, my old nemesis from my lawsuit with Podesta Group. Remember, we took out Podesta Group. We served them. They were closed by the end of the week. Mark Elias still hasn't forgotten that ignominious defeat from 2017 from our lawsuit. They closed the Podesta Group down. They ruled K Street. We took them out, right? They went to the TCF Center. They kept the TCF Center open. They unloaded the buses. We're going to expose it every step of the way. And so this time, we're really laying it on thick in terms of exposing this before these things happen. And that's how you get in front of these things. That's how you stop the deep state machinations and shenanigans. That's what we're doing. We're doing it again, but we're doing it 10 times more than we did it last time to say, here's the buses, watch them get off the buses, watch them go in to vote at the TCF Center, watch Mark Elias, watch Perkins Coie, watch Hillary Clinton last night in Detroit. Right. That's why we're your eyes and ears on the deep state to expose these operations.
Well, George, one thing that is going to be different in this election as to the 2020 is that the Republican side in this election has decided to actively engage in vote harvesting, which was something that pretty much was exclusively on the Democrat side. So who knows where you might have twice as many trucks pulling up at the TCF Center and just volumes and volumes of ballots that start showing up that need to be counted. And
well, if they have a second double here for Hillary Clinton, I don't know if you look at this woman, it's not obviously not Hillary Clinton. So they're trying to introduce doppelgangers for every voter. It's not going to work. You can't do this at the last minute. Registration's over for Michigan. Yes, Mark, we've talked about it. The overseas voters, if you've ever worked at a migrant work camp, right? They want to bring in the kids and uncles and nephews and nieces and everyone that ever had one relative work at an onion field in Michigan or a pumpkin patch, and they want to have them all vote as overseas voters. That's the latest and greatest. And there's supposedly, even though there's only 2 million people living abroad, they want to get 8 million votes out of that. But if they can do this with Hillary and convince this person here on the front of Hillary's book is Hillary, maybe they can pull that kind of magic rabbit out of the hat here in the last few days of the election.
She sure looks good for 81 years old.
Whoever it is, whoever that is she looks good for 81. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, for folks in the Muskegon, Michigan area, you never know when George will have a chance to get back to Muskegon or Holland. That is way on the west side of Michigan. We are down here at almost the complete opposite corner here in Lambertville, down at in the southeast corner. So feel free to send him a direct message on his Twitter if you want to, buy him a coffee, or maybe it's a little late in the day for coffee, but just catch up with him. He'll be cruising through the Muskegon area here. Maybe I'll put the Muskegon River here on the map. I didn't share that earlier.
Chicago mob right here. This is what the big port with the hooch right over the Canadian hooch straight over Chicago with Al Capone right from this port right here.
Yep.
Put a lot of these mansions on the map.
We'll do some pictures of the Muskegon River, and then folks can check with George as well if they want to meet up in Lansing or East Lansing, central part of the state, on Friday. We might get there Thursday night, maybe stay an extra night, but Turning Point on Friday. Oh, I got to click these to get them to show up. Beautiful Muskegon River there. So yeah, that's where folks can check in with you. And what do you think? Any more news updates for the day? We'll
No, I think that's good, Aaron. Thank you very much for you guys covering this. Mark, thank you for all your the newsroom that Mark's put together there and underwrote is really helpful for us to be all together all day. And then we have the Charette house now, so we're together all till about 11 o'clock at night. So, and then Aaron gives me his car and I leave at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we've really had a chance to crucible this thing like we didn't last time with Mark, and it's really great to have. We talked about Mark's experience at these big papers, and they've all won Pulitzer prizes and so forth. So we're really, it's a new voice and a new mind at the table who's seen it all many times in Michigan and Ohio, as well as national elections. So it's been really great.
All righty. Well, maybe I'll just let JD. I'll unmute JD here and let him play us out for the day. So. Good thing you were able to see JD Vance today. We certainly appreciate all the folks out there in Holland, Michigan, and thank you all for watching. We'll do a little JD and then I'll play us out. So, George, check with you later. Thanks for everything.
Yep. All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.
To be the president, she wants to just follow orders, I believe, from the same people who have broken our country over the past 20 years. Think about it. How can Kamala Harris, who is a member of the political party that has governed this country for the past 20 years, with the brief interruption of 4 years of Donald Trump's leadership, how is it possible for her to stand on a stage and blame Donald J. Trump for the very things that she has done? You do that when you don't have any ideas, and you do that when you have no idea what you want to do as president of the United States. And set to the side any policy disagreements that we have with Kamala Harris. I am terrified about having a person like that sit in a room with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping if she cannot answer friendly questions from the friendly American media. How can we possibly expect her to negotiate on our behalf in front of the world's worst people? We can't.
please consider supporting George Webb at buymeacoffee.com and substack.com.